Oh, snap. Welcome back to the channel, y'all. My name's Patrick. If you like true crime, I'm live every night. TikTok, you already know that. But YouTube and Rumble, I'm going live every night alongside the TikTok live. So y'all make sure you subscribe on YouTube, follow on Rumble, The Mystery Project on both, and leave some thumbs up on those videos. All right, so let's jump into this one. Harvey Weinstein. Y'all remember that dude? Yeah. Apparently his 2020 conviction was overturned. Great. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at this one. See what's going on here. Oops, I hit the wrong button. I don't even know what happened there. Shrink myself down. And let's hit play, y'all. You guys ready for this one? TikTok.
A New York court, the highest court in the state, has overturned Harvey Weinstein's 2020 rape conviction in
grapes, TikTok, grape overlords, the TikTok overlords, grapes.
In the state of New York. He was, of course, also convicted in California. This was predicted by many people that were involved in this case, including Weinstein's defense team. They said that they predicted that this would happen because the judge allowed all of these other witnesses to take the stand to talk about incidents that they had with Harvey Weinstein. These were uncharged allegations against the defendant, and that is why the high court overturned his convictions. He's going to get a new trial. One of the people that was very vocal was one of former Weinstein attorney, Arthur Aidala. He's holding a press conference in New York. Let's watch.
Oh, Lord. What's he going to say?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Arthur Aidala, and I am the managing partner of the law firm Aidala, Bertuna, and Kamins. We were the part of the trial team, and we were the appellate team. Judge Barry Kamins and Diana Fabi Sampson and myself tried the case alongside Donna Rotuno and Damon Chironis 4 years ago, more or less, right now in this courtroom right behind us. And at the time of those rulings, from the days I interned with John Esposito in 1980 and when my father worked here in the 60s and 70s, what we knew then was the first words that came out of my mouth to the Court of Appeals, which was from the bottom of our hearts, from our collective hundreds of years of experience, we knew that Harvey Weinstein did not get a fair trial. And there's a quote from Judith Kay, who was one of the great...
I heard someone describe Weinstein as a well-dressed skin tag. That's fairly accurate.
...leaders of this state. She was the chief of the Court of Appeals of the state of New York. And the essence of it was, there are some people who are very unpopular in our society, but we still have to apply the law fairly to them. And in this courthouse behind us at that trial, the law was not applied fairly to Harvey Weinstein. And what the Court of Appeals, the highest court in the greatest state, in the greatest country, said today.
I don't know about greatest state. I'm kind of partial to my home state of Tejas. Good old Texas.
It's over 100 years old. And what the Court of Appeals said, you can't throw out 100 years of legal precedent because someone is unpopular. We compliment the Court of Appeals for having the strength and the courage to do so. We compliment the former Chief Judge of the Court of Appeals, Chief Judge Janet DiFiore, because she's the one who gave us access to the Court of Appeals. It is not often, it is not automatic that a criminal defendant gets access to the Court of Appeals. And Chief Judge DiFiore, who's been a fighter for women's rights, throughout the course of her career, stepped up and said, no, there's a problem here that my colleagues on the bench have to examine. And they did examine it. And Judge Jenny Rivera, who has spent her entire career in the law as a professor, as a judge, fighting for women's rights as hard as she possibly can, wrote this decision. And it may sound like it's an exaggeration, but it's not. Today's legal ruling is a great day for America because it instills in us the faith that there is a justice system, even though there's 100 cameras around, that a judge will sit in her chambers and look at the law.
There's a crazy ass justice system, that's for sure. I mean, it works at times, and other times we're sitting here like, what the fuck? Excuse me?
And look at the precedent without fear of favor and say, I don't care who the defendant is. If it's a former president of the United States or the most storied Hollywood producer of our generation, the law applies to everyone. There was over 100-year precedent that was thrown out by the intermediary court of appellate court. That said the Molyneux ruling, which is allowing people who a defendant is not charged with to come into court and testify. They said it was okay in the Harvey Weinstein case.
Highly weird as whack, right, Jennifer?
But today, Judge Jenny Rivera, a real hero for women on this planet, said you can't convict someone based on their entire life and everything that they've done in their life. You can't allow more witnesses to come in and testify against the defendant than the defendant is actually charged with. You can't do that. What Judge Rivera wrote, over a century later, we reaffirm that no person accused of illegality may be judged on proof.
Okay, we need to squeeze it a commercial break. Arthur Aidala on the steps across the street from the courthouse where Harvey Weinstein was convicted, reacting to the state Court of Appeals overturning his conviction. We'll continue our coverage of this when we return. Stay with us as Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
And we're right back in.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julia Janae. Thanks for following along with us this afternoon as we are in several courtrooms and following some breaking news.
Oh, damn. Y'all, by the way, TikTok, hit the follow button if you're new here. Tap the screen like crazy. 75,000 likes. We hit it. Let's go for 100. And if you want to see, this is the last video of the night. So if you want to come and watch it with us, actually see the video, we're live on YouTube and Rumble. Just search the Mystery Project. The Mystery Project. See the name is on the screen right there. Go ahead and click it. That's where you're going to find the video. You can watch the video, put the video on your TV, and stay in the TikTok chat on your phone. Do one of those, y'all.
Out of New York. We will get you back to more testimony in Idaho in the Doomsday Prophet murder trial, but we do want to begin in New York, where we are continuing our coverage in that bombshell reaction from the appellate court in New York. Harvey Weinstein's 2020 rape conviction being overturned by the justices there.
TikTok grapes.
The New York Appeals Court, they ruled that the judge in the case, the trial judge, prejudiced the former movie mogul with egregious and improper rulings, including a decision to allow women to testify who weren't part of the case, or those Molyneux witnesses. We are currently listening to a press conference from Weinstein's defense attorney, Arthur Aidala. He's outside of the same New York County courthouse where Weinstein was convicted 4 years ago. Let's listen to more of his reaction.
Oh, Lord.
That serve only to establish the accused's propensity for criminal behavior. So the Court of Appeals deserves a tremendous amount of credit for doing this, based on the law, not based on opinion polls, not based on popularity contests. And let me tell you something about Harvey Weinstein. From the moment I met him at his office in Midtown, he profoundly declared his innocence.
What?
He said, if you're going to represent me, you need to know I didn't rape anyone. I didn't sexually assault any of these women who I am charged with. He said the same thing to me today. He's also said the same thing to me when the verdict was read and I sat next to him. And he said, Arthur, how could this happen? I'm innocent. I'm innocent. Because of this ruling, Harvey Weinstein will now be produced from where he is in upstate New York back down here to this courthouse. Obviously, there will be a new judge. There will be a new prosecutor because the former prosecutor has retired. To her credit, Jonah Luzzi, a very classy move for a lawyer, called and acknowledged the decision today and was very classy about that. She deserves recognition for that because that's how the justice system should work. So Harvey will be here. We will be announcing ready for trial on the first day we walk into that courtroom, because we are. And Harvey will, under this new ruling, be able to take the stand, will be able to tell his side of the story, and be very consistent with what he said all along, which is, yes, there was the sexual encounter between me and Mimi Haley, but I never forced her to do anything. In fact, 7 days after the alleged assault, we had consensual sex, which he testified to in this courthouse. So today is not just about Harvey Weinstein, far from it. We've gotten calls from so many defense attorneys, from the greatest in terms of defense attorneys of Ron Kuby to retired judges, saying you did a great thing for America. We did it. Diana wrote the brief with Judge Kamens. We tried the case together. I argued it. It was a group effort. Craig Rothfeld, who's been here, he's the prison consultant taking care of Harvey throughout. It's been an absolute team effort. But this was so much more than Harvey Weinstein for us and for the justice system. And we are relieved. Everyone's like, are you happy? Of course, we worked very, very hard. But we're relieved that our system of justice wasn't perverted. You know, this was a case about perversion. Well, in that courthouse at trial, the laws were perverted because there was so much pressure, because Harvey was the face of this movement, that he had to be convicted under any circumstances, even if you have to throw the rule book out the window. And luckily, the judges of the Court of Appeals in the state of New York, our highest court, said no. That perversion in the state of New York, in our criminal courts, in our justice system, will not stand. I'll take some questions.
Jack Morford from the New York Post. 2 questions.
I mean, okay, so the judge did something that he shouldn't have done and threw that thing out. Let people testify that shouldn't. Okay. Say we give that to you and we just say, okay. Oops, messed up there. And he gets another trial. He's going to be found guilty again. You're going right back to prison for life. Bye.
What? What the fuck? First of all, how did Harvey
Crazy as hell.
react to the news? Did you tell him? And if so, what was his response to you? And secondly, what will
You're found guilty once, you'll be found guilty again.
be the logistics in terms of him moving prisons, given that he still has the California conviction over his head?
I never anticipated those questions, so I really don't know the answers.
Did you talk to him? Did you break
Yeah,
the news?
so
What
here's,
did he say?
we're not in a rush. We don't come back from lunch for 15 minutes. Judge Kamens today is lecturing at the Brooklyn Bar Association. They're also having a suit drive for people who need some clothing. So I was actually in my closet picking out a couple of suits to give to charity when my wife called me, and I mistakenly didn't take her call, and then Judge Kamens called me, and we did not expect the decision to come out today, so we were in shock that the decision, first of all, came out, and then relieved by what the decision was, but we didn't hear, it's not like I can pick up the phone and call Harvey in prison until about I think it was a little bit after 10 o'clock a.m. when I got the call, and it was Harvey. And, you know, he just heaped praise on me and our whole team. And you know, he said thank you more times than I can count. And I'll talk to you about how he found out in a moment. But I do want to say this about Harvey. He, after the oral arguments in the Court of Appeals, he called me. It was like a week later maybe, because he wasn't able to see it right away. But eventually he saw the oral argument. And he called me and he said something that any lawyer would want to hear. He said, Arthur, no matter what the outcome is, I know that you and your team did everything you possibly could to try to save me. And no matter what the outcome is, I will never blame you. And as a lawyer who has someone's life in their hands, you can't ask for more than that. So I appreciate him saying those things. Apparently what happened was he was in the facility today. Someone just walked over to him and handed him a piece of paper. I believe it was from the Associated Press. And he said it was like 2 sentences. It just said, Harvey Weinstein appeal reversed, conviction reversed. And obviously he has some friends in there now. You know, he's like, Arthur, I've been here 4 years in prison for something I didn't do. You got to fix this. I said, Harvey, we're going to walk in there. John Esposito has been my supervisor since 1990. He said, we're going to go in there, and the first they say,
What do y'all think? He's still saying, oh, I didn't do these things. What are you talking about? Thumbs up, you believe him. Thumbs down, you're going to burn in hell.
You what? Your Honor, we're ready for trial. Just, you know, let's pick a trial date. We're ready to go.
Was he emotional? How was he?
He wasn't emotional like crying. Craig was crying. Craig was crying. Diana was very
right?
Focused on making her cappuccino. I was a little more... I was in a little bit, I just was not expecting, we got some misinformation that there were no more decisions from the Court of Appeals coming down, so we were not prepared. But Harvey was very gracious, very grateful. He called me actually 3 times. You know, look, he's in a horrible place, in a horrible situation, but the human spirit is...
But didn't he put himself in that situation?
Strong, and so he has done the best he can.
Didn't his actions put himself in those situations, and then a jury of his peers found him guilty regardless of what he says? His actions put him in that situation?
With his help and the help of Craig.
A little accountability.
Rothfeld to make the best out of a horrible situation. But it is chilling when a human being who is in his early 70s now says, Arthur, I've been in jail for 4 years for something I didn't do. And what was done improperly. And that's a really, think about where we all were 4 years ago. We were in lockdown and COVID. Think about how much life has passed. And he's missed all of that. And he's got little kids.
Arthur, following the loss of NBC News, just curious, explain to us, does he now get extradited to California and begin serving that 16-year sentence there? Talk to us about what happens next.
What happens next is that actual judgment from the court will be sent up to the courthouse. To the prison and to the courthouse. His case now will be redocketed like it just started from the beginning. And he will be transported down here to a facility down here yet to be determined. And we will go, it's like his case begins brand new, like those days, I guess 5 years ago, almost 6, when he was initially arrested and brought in, and, you know, we start from scratch.
So it's 100% this will go to trial again?
Well, that isn't the attorney's discretion. If they want to dismiss the case, I'm not going to object to that. The case starts from the beginning. Hi.
If they want to dismiss the case, I won't object to that, he said. Oh, my God.
Has Harvey Weinstein had any remorse or any regret?
Well, he spoke at his...
No, I can't hear the reporters either. Sorry.
Sentencing. Quite eloquently about the remorse and regret that he has, that he put these women through that situation and he looked at them right in the eyes in that courtroom. But Harvey Weinstein has been very, very consistent. Mimi LA and I fooled around on I forget what day of the week it was. She called me in the morning. This is her testimony. She called me in the morning, said, my friend's having a baby in California. Can you fly me out? He flew her out. She came back less than 10 days later. They went to dinner and they made love. And then years later, she said, well, the time we made love, that was consensual. But the 10 days before that, that wasn't consensual. And Harvey Weinstein says, no, it was consensual. And he wants to come back into the courtroom and have this team and whatever lawyers Mr. Weinstein wants to bring on, cross-examine her, fight her case. He wants to take the stand and say, look, yes, it happened. We never said it didn't happen, but I didn't sexually assault anybody.
BBC, what does this mean for Harvey's California?
Jesus.
That may be the only part.
Well, there, a brilliant lawyer by the name of Jennifer Bogine, who I spoke to on the way here, she's handling his California appeal. I will tell you that one of the women who testified at this trial, one of those Molyneux witnesses of which the case was reversed, she testified at this trial, not that he was charged here, but he was charged in California. And a jury heard her in California. And the jury didn't believe her and found him not guilty of that woman who helped convict him here. So when one of the only Molyneux witness that was actually put to the test of being cross-examined in front of 12 jurors, those 12 citizens of the United States of America said, we don't believe you, not guilty.
Jesus.
Do you think that Weinstein will go free?
I could just tell you what Jennifer Bogine, his attorney in California, told me, is that she said the appellate...
Author Idala there answering those questions in front of the New York County Courthouse, reacting to this decision from the Court of Appeals of New York, saying that today is according to him, great day for America, not a sentiment shared by many of those who are part of the Me Too movement, who came forward as part of it. Here's a statement that we received from an attorney for some of those victims in this case, Attorney Douglas Wigdor, saying that today's decision is a major step back in holding those accountable for acts of sexual violence. Courts routinely admit evidence of other uncharged acts where they assist juries in understanding issues concerning the intent, modus operandi, or scheme of the defendant. The jury was instructed on the relevance of this testimony, and the overturning of the verdict is tragic in that it will require the victims to endure yet another trial. That was what came out of this this overturning, as we're hearing even from this press conference, that not only is this going to be redocketed as a case, it's going to start again from the beginning. The appellate court said that they can retry, the prosecution can retry Harvey Weinstein on these charges again. And they also, we heard from the defense attorney say that because of these new rulings, or what the appellate court says can't happen the next time, Harvey Weinstein will take the stand. Let's bring in our guest for this hour to talk about it, break down what has happened in this case. Trial attorney Gabe Sepulveda Sanchez is with us. Gabe, it's so good to see you. A lot unfolding from this decision from the High Court today. I want to talk to you about the admittance of these prior bad act witnesses. In New York, they're called Molyneux witnesses. There were 3 women who came in and testified about sexual impropriety incidents. I was inside of that courtroom every single day for this trial. I saw some of these women testifying, sharing these really embarrassing details, a really uncomfortable situation that they say that they were in. They weren't part of the indictment, though, but the law does allow in some situations. In this case, the prosecution said it showed his state.
Wolf, thanks for the hand hearts. I forgot about that. Y'all hit me with the hand hearts. Let's crush those goals.
Of mine, and that he had a routine of ignoring consent. But attorneys know how difficult it is to bring in this kind of testimony.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a big win for criminal defense lawyers and people who have been accused of sexual misconduct. The risk with allowing prior bad act testimony in is that although the jury may be instructed by the judge that this is should not be relevant for showing propensity for him to commit this current act, a lot of times there's too much risk. And I think what we have to look at is this current crime that's been committed. What evidence do we have that's relevant that Mr. Weinstein committed these sexual assaults or had force himself on the victim. And when you really think about it, is that fair that we're admitting these prior bad acts for things that are not, for these witnesses that were not indicted, that are not victims of this specific trial? That I think there's too much risk for prejudice in that. I think at the end of the day, we need to consider this is the victim that's accusing Mr. Weinstein of these acts. This is the crime he's charged with. What evidence do we have that he committed these acts in this specific situation with this victim? Mm-hmm. I think there's too much risk that things that happened in the past may be used. A jury may influence them in determining that this certain crime happened. Although, you know, it's the same thing with other crimes. Maybe someone was guilty of bank robbery before, but in this particular situation with this particular crime, does that mean that he committed this crime? I don't think that's fair to use these prior bad acts in determining if someone's guilty of a certain crime when those persons weren't, that there's no direct evidence on this specific situation.
Yeah, this speaks loudly to prosecutors. Certainly, tough day for victims who were paying attention to this case. We were showing a lot of those pictures of actresses, and a lot of them were those who came out in the wake of Harvey Weinstein being named in certain articles back in 2017, and that's really what they say is part of the flashpoint for the Me Too movement. Many of those names that we know and saw did not come into the courtroom. There were about 70 accusers of Harvey Weinstein of some kind of sexual impropriety. But when it came to coming into that courtroom, you only had the 3 women who were named in the indictment and then these 3 other women who were Molyneux witnesses. And I want to play a clip of another woman who came forward to police, had a situation where she recorded Harvey Weinstein on a second incident, trying to capture him admitting to being improper with her in a sexual assault. Her name was Ambra Batalania Gutierrez. She spoke to us back in 2020 outside of the courtroom. Take a listen.
It happened in 2015. I was assaulted in his office. I went to the police an hour after to speak about what happened. And there is the police guy that answered to me again. So after that again, I felt that I had to do something about, because I never want him to hurt anyone. What happened next is that I collaborated with the police. I gathered a lot of proof on records, and nothing was happened and nothing was done then. So I feel that right now I needed to be here to at least get a positive memory of this situation, because of course I had a bad experience in 2015 and I don't want anybody to have the same.
Gabe, you heard his attorney say that this time around, he's going to take the stand. And in that opinion, 77 pages from the appellate court that I read through, they listed some other problems that this lower court allowed in, that if he had taken the stand, and we have a list of some of those things that would have been able to come in on cross-examination. I mean, things like that he asked someone to lie to his wife, that he hid women's clothes, that he threatened a colleague saying that he was going to cut off their genitals. He photoshopped a female actor's head onto a nude body. These things that weren't part of the sexual assault, but that he would be cross-examined over if he took the stand. But we're talking about a different ball game now. How effective do you think it would be for him to take the stand if there is a retrial?
I mean, when you take the stand, you open yourself up to cross-examination. So, I mean, you have to understand that those things that you could be crossed on, it could look bad. So it's really up to his attorneys on how to on redirect or how to handle that cross-examination. They know where they're going to come after Harvey Weinstein if he takes a stand, and they're going to know how to deal with it. So I think it's really preparing on redirect and how to minimize the damage on that stuff. Even on voir dire, when they're jury selecting, anything that's going to be an issue of a cross-examination, you want to bring that up when you're picking a jury, so that's not the first time you're hearing it. And so you can kind of determine what juries are going to be, against you when hearing these issues too. But at the end of the day, I think that, you have the right to cross-examination as an American citizen. These people that are saying these things about Mr. Weinstein on TV, he has the right to cross-examination those alleged victims. So I think I'm, I agree with as far as the ruling from the Court of Appeals. I think it's too unfair to have other prior bad acts that are not relevant to this situation at hand.
That is the decision, and that will stand in this case going forward, the highest court in New York. So nothing else for him really for the prosecution to try and get a different decision.
Oh my God. That is crazy as hell. Leanne, thanks for the follow. Oh, what do y'all think about that? What do you think about that one? Potentially a new trial, probably a new trial. Oh my God. I know I'm tired as hell though. Oh. I know it is definitely time to get some sleep. Oh my goodness. YouTube, Rumble, thank you for the love. I appreciate you guys. Make sure you leave a comment. Let me know what you thought about this one. Make sure you hit the follow button, the subscribe button, and the thumbs up button. I'll see you guys on the next one.